Murder in the morning from the Hidden Killers podcast.
Well, Alex Murdaugh's attempt to move his assets to someone other than who they've been ordered to be given to has failed. Thank goodness.
Oops.
Yeah. Alec was asking attorneys to have federal prosecutors assume control of his assets from co-receivers appointed by a state judge. The on the surface, oh, look, he's being a nice guy, thought on this was, well, if we don't have to have an intermediary taking their cut out of this, there'll be more for the victims. And that marked the first time Alec gave a shit about anyone other than himself, which, of course, made it not legit. We're sorry. You're not capable of that. We've learned that in the last handful of years. In the latest turn of events surrounding convicted killer Alex Murdaugh, the federal prosecutors have made it clear that they would not be intervening to take control of Murdaugh's assets. This response came after Murdaugh's attorneys made an urgent plea to the government asking it to oversee his assets, currently under the charge of co-receivers appointed by a South Carolina state judge. Now, I do agree it's a lot of money that the co-receivers who are appointed by the South Carolina judge are receiving in their cut. It seems a little egregious, but as all things in this type of criminal justice world are, people are taking their cuts, and it doesn't always end up being super fair. According to the documents filed in district court, while the government has the authority through a preliminary order of forfeiture to seize its assets, they have no current intention to do so. This decision arises due to a legal nuance. The state of South Carolina has already staked its claim over the assets, asserting jurisdiction and therefore hindering federal interference. So the state got their hands on it before the federal government could get their hands on it. The backdrop of this complex financial entanglement dates back to November 4th of 2021 in an effort to thwart any potential mismanagement, concealment, or sale. Murdaugh's assets were placed in a protective receivership assigned to this critical responsibility were John T. Lay and Peter M. McCoy as co-receivers. Murdaugh's defense team has since voiced significant concerns about the arrangement. They argue that an alarming $2.1 million of his assets have been taken over by the co-receivers. Of this amount, they claim $400,000 has already been dispersed to Lay and McCoy, with additional $253,294 now in the pipeline for release. Heck, I want to be one of these receivers. How can you get into that business? You just get money.
I was just wondering the same thing.
Just take the money and then distribute it, and you're getting like hundreds of thousands of dollars for doing basic bank transactions.
You just get a cut of the deal.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, how do you get into a business like this?
Look into that one. In court documents, the defense passionately states that such financial maneuvers put the Murdaugh funds at risk of substantial dissipation and waste. Since when do they care? When do they care? Especially when we look at the funds that Alec was able to shell out in the initial trial here for Harpootlian and Jim in their egregiously ridiculous home that they stayed in with the pool and all of the amenities. It was like staying at the Four Seasons, but better, including having their own chef. Federal prosecutors in their detailed response provided a contrasting viewpoint. They emphasized that the charges levied by the co-receivers come at a significant discount when juxtaposed against standard fees in such cases. Furthermore, these fees, they stressed, have been green-lighted by the state court circuit judge with no objections raised by Murdaugh or other potential stakeholders. Addressing the broader financial framework, prosecutors share that the government holds the authority to seize an impressive $9 million to meet its forfeiture judgment. However, they clarified that there's no obligation to exercise this right. The court documents scrutiny states that Murdaugh cannot force the government to seize any assets, particularly assets over which he has either relinquished or divested of control. A crucial distinction was made regarding the role of federal and state authorities in managing these assets. The defense assertion that the government would effectively mirror the actions of the co-receivers was debunked by prosecutors. They elaborated that while the federal system considers some victims as financially whole, A takeover of the assets from the state could potentially deprive some state victims, those not encompassed within federal crimes, of the opportunity to recover their dues. The multifaceted financial dispute adds another layer, of course, to the ongoing saga of Alex Murdaugh, shining a light on the intricate intersection of state and federal jurisdictions and raising poignant questions about the guardianship of assets and the rights of the victims. I think of course, it's the government that's involved. So, of course, it's going to be more complicated. I guess the question is, who would you rather be in control of the money? Alec, the receivers who are going to get a huge cut, or the federal government?
Boy, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of hands in this cookie jar, aren't there?
Yes, there is. And that's the sick part of all of this. These people, they've lost loved ones. They've had their lives torn apart and destroyed by the doings of Alex Murdaugh, and now it's still a total shit show of how they're going to ever receive their money. They likely will. We know where it is, at least this portion of it, and we'll see where it all goes. The bigger question that we still have to answer is all of the other money that Alex had, that he had made. Where did all of that go?
Well, and what part of it does his remaining family get to have of that?
Well, Buster got a chunk. I think Buster got like a couple $100,000.
That's not much compared to what's there.
Well, I'm honestly feeling like he's lucky he got anything, to be quite honest, considering how close he was to the case. Really, I don't know that he was entitled to much other than things that may have already been in a trust or set up for him prior to the crimes. Had those sort of things not existed, I don't think he's entitled to anything. He's an adult.
Yeah, that's true. He's not a dependent child anymore.
No.
Huh.
So
yeah, there's a lot to get split up here, and it's, really who gets it. That's the big question of the day. I'd love to be adopted by him personally.
All I really wanted is one of those turtle lamps that they were selling at the auction. I missed
that.
Yeah, remember when they were doing the auction of all of his stuff earlier on in the year, and it turned out to be a total crazy event for this auction house. It was their biggest one ever. People were paying ridiculous amounts of money to have assets and pieces of their furniture, dishware, the turtle lamps, you name it, for crazy. Like these turtle lamps, if you saw them at like a garage sale, they'd be like a quarter. I think these things went for like several $100s, if not into the thousands.
Oh boy. And probably because it came from that family,
it's all
not
about,
because of anything else.
That's the only reason. And I mean, as much as I like true crime and this is what we do for a living, I wouldn't want like the furniture of Alex Murdaugh around my house.
No.
It's just, I mean, talk about bad juju on that. It would just be icky.
People are weird.
Now, if someone offered me
it's weird what people want.
If someone offered me a turtle lamp, I'd probably put it in the studio. But
now, wait a second.
Yeah.
Are we talking like made out of a turtle shell, or
literally made out of a turtle shell?
Aw.
Yep. Alec went and mutilated the turtles, and then Maggie made a lamp out of it. No, I don't know. I don't think that's what happened. But they liked the outdoors. They were very gamey, so they had all sorts of wild game type things, and one of those was the turtle lamp.
Oh, wow.
So if anyone's looking for something to get me for Christmas, we know what I want.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.